letterer can probably live without his people mover from his car to his front door. He could probably go back to living in a $7,000 to $1,000 a month place. He'd still live. He'd still eat. They all have to kind of take their whole life now and just take it back, Tony, and make right on the money that's owed. They cannot be living off the money they've made from these players and not pay them. It's just not right. And I won't be using the private jets or the jets, Tony, and flying around doing this, but I'll be doing it right here from Command Central. I feel that this is the front lines of the war right now, and we have to keep the pressure on. Like you said, I knew last Wednesday when I came out with my rant at 7 p.m., I knew that what I was doing was trying to put that pressure. I was trying to make them feel uneasy, and that's all I'm doing right now, and I commend you for flying around. I wish QuadJacks was as big as Poker News, and we'd make that happen as well, but we're trying our hardest here, Tony.
No, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm glad you're on there, and I think you have a spot, and I think ultimately this may help. Regulation now, players will find value in regulation and strict regulation, and even authorities around the world now have to wake up, and they have to start policing the gaming companies.
Yes,
we're through. Whatever the gaming company is, it has to be policed. The Gaming Commission has to step up, and I think this is now the time. Come back, please. This is the time for them to wake up. Yeah. Because why would you want to go to Alderney to get a gaming permit? I mean, it's like being a bank. So you have a banking license. Is the customer aware that it means nothing?
Right. Well, and I believe that you're a sponsored pro for Party Poker, correct?
Yes.
Have you? Because I just quickly went to their site, Tony, and I don't want to think that I'm throwing you under the bus, but they are licensed and regulated by the government of Gibraltar, and our games are tested by iTech Labs, an independent tester of gaming and wagering devices to ensure the games are fair and operate correctly. So, see, they always say that, Tony. They always say that the games are regulated, but there's never a statement anywhere that says that we actually know that your money is in an account. So, I mean, what do you know about Party Poker? Who do they use? And because you back them, I mean, especially under these circumstances, I know Party Poker does things a lot different. I'm a Canadian, so I've been able to play on that site when I'm back home. But they do things a little bit better than everybody else. What do you feel they're doing different? Like, are they actually regulated in these issues?
Well, you say there's a lot of liability for the directors themselves and the CEO because it's a public company.
Right.
They have a lot of criminal liability, and that's the reason they had to leave American market as well, as soon as there was a problem legally. So the directors are bound and responsible, and they have to be very transparent in everything they do. So Party Poker's obviously close to 100% guaranteed. It would be nice for the Gaming Commission of Gibraltar to come out and say that all of our companies that we regulate, because they do regulate a lot of companies who are not publicly listed.
Sure.
I think when a company is publicly listed and has a big value, your money is 99.99% safe.
Right.
And that's how it is, because it's listed. You know that the directors have a lot of criminal liability for all of the actions. They know they have to be solvent at all times. They could not trade insolvent.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too. Is like when it's a public traded company, there's a board of directors and there's guys that you actually can point the finger to, and they're not able to go run and hide because their name's on the on the paperwork, if you will, that they own the company. Where like what we're saying now is that even in Gibraltar, there's companies they work with that you don't know who owns it. Kind of like this Full Tilt thing. We can all kind of say, yeah, we know this guy, and this guy own it, but at the same time, a publicly traded company is so much more legit because of that, right?
That's right. A publicly traded company is so much more legit. And what made Full Tilt legit was Team Full Tilt coming out and being on ads all the time, all over the world, reaping the benefits, and then hiding now when the shit hits the fan. This is what I hate. I just can't stand this.
I know.
I can't stand these no comments. It's been a month.
I can't stand, Tony, that how much money do you think they spent on Poker After Dark a week to have that up on the air?
I think they spent probably Poker After Dark alone. Probably 50 million has been spent.
50?
50 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, and that's like
a minimum figure.
And then how many the spots they have for the commercials during the WSOP and on ESPN? I've heard crazy numbers and figures of what they spend for marketing, and it's just like all that money they spent on marketing probably got them a lot of players, but at the same time, that's money there they could have spent on the players' accounts refunding everybody.
No, for sure. It doesn't make sense. if the money is being used for doing these shows and that, well, that doesn't make sense to me. That's not good enough. And
what do you make of their pros? Like, I mean, these guys like the Mike Matusows of the world, and maybe we can touch on that in a bit because I know that he personally called you out, and I don't understand why, because it just doesn't make sense. Let's get back on Mike. But what do you think for these guys, these pros right now that are still like yesterday I was at the the other day I was at the WPT, and there's so many guys wearing full tilt poker patches, and yet obviously if they're not paying the players, they shouldn't be paying those guys. So why are these guys, Tony, standing up and still like saying, "Oh, don't worry," like we were there Saturday. "Oh, don't worry, good news is coming Sunday," and I was just under my breath laughing. Why are these guys still there? Is it because are they actually backed by these companies? Do they back them, Tony, or do they just straight buy them into the tournaments? Because if they back them, okay, or if they even straight buy them in right before the World Series of Poker, they've got to be scared that if they break this contract or step out of line, they're not going to get bought in for the whole World Series. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think Friday was one day. Today is another day. Today a lot less full tilt patches. People are a lot more quieter. In fact, a few of the bigger names even were not with them today.
Really?
That I saw. But that was today. And I think that people are now concerned. They're definitely concerned, the pros themselves, about what's going on.
Right.
You have to remember, a lot of the pros have a lot of money on the sites.
Right.
So they can't now go against it. I'm taking an extreme approach. I'm risking a lot of money with my relationship with Full Tilt. But I don't live just for money.
Right.
And it's one thing that Full Tilt, or you're not helping, they're saying, by doing it. But I know there's no other way to make this work. If you're not going to put pressure on them, they're not going to make this good. These people only know stress and pressure. And if you don't bully them, they will not make this money good.
I completely agree. I just want to give a shout out to Daniel Negreanu. He said he's listening to you on QuadJacks Radio, and he completely agrees with what you're saying. That was from his Twitter 1 minute ago. So, Mr. Negreanu, I know we have you on Skype, so if you want to come to this conversation and kind of add something, because I know that, Tony, Daniel was so against UB, and I commend him for being the one taking the stand on that. As I've said many times on the radio in the past few days, this right now, compared to the super user problem, if they don't pay American players back, Tony, this makes the super user thing look like it's not even a problem anymore. Okay, what did they steal? 50 million? 25, whatever it was. This could be $300 million, Tony. They take off the table, and they weren't even cheating us. They just didn't pay us. That is huge, if you ask me.
That's just extraordinary. And if the liability is bigger, if they haven't got the money for the other players, if they can only make payments on the small deposits to keep operations liquid, we've given them plenty of time. It's time to step up. And it's like, I can't keep repeating it. I try to be quiet, and I took the pressure off. I spoke to the guys, but they can't sort this out. I'm asking for the players to step up. They're obviously wanting someone else to step in, and that could be also an option. Maybe someone from the side, maybe a PokerStars can save them, maybe a Party Poker can save them, and make sure that the players are paid.
Well, at this point now, Tony, I mean, listen, if the company was for sale for $200-300 million for 50%, do you feel that that's a good investment at this time, given how long they've taken to actually make a statement? Or do you think that their long-term equity has really, went down the drain just because of how they've handled the situation? Like, let's say you and I had, $150 million each, and we were going to purchase, 50% of the company for $300 million. Is that a good purchase right now with Full Tilt? Would you feel comfortable right now buying Full Tilt Poker for $300 million?
Well, I'd say it's all down to risk reward. If your investment, if you had 10 billion and you wanted to risk a small part of your money investing 150 million, it might make sense. But if they chop the investment up to many pieces, I think it also gets down to whether someone can snag 51%. I don't think that 50% will be the stake that someone could buy and not have control. So it'll be a lot of due diligence. So it won't be so quickly. But it's pure speculation at this stage. It's if they want to go the investment route, that's fine. But the players, the people who have reaped the rewards, have to vouch for it first, and then everyone being comfortable when there's personal guarantees in place, then do the sale. That's not an issue.
who do you, Tony, like right now, if you could, who do you feel right now is in the driver's seat to come forward and guarantee this money out of the people that are associated with Full Tilt Poker? Obviously Howard Lederer, obviously Chris Ferguson, but are the rest of those team guys literally, are those the guys that we should be really focusing on right now to pressure them to come out and start giving people money back?
Look, everybody knows what percent they own.
No, but listen, we don't know. We've been trying. We have no idea, and that's just it. Like,
well, everybody... I know exactly all the percentages, and if they get, I think it's very simple formula. I think it's a matter of going pro rata, guarantee pro rata, team full tilt pro rata, and if one of the team full members doesn't want to go in, fine. Whatever they find, they have the points. They go and say, okay, pro rata, we guarantee this.
Right.
But if one of them says we can't guarantee this or that, then that's fine.
Right. Then, well, like this is a question I had too, Tony. Is like if these guys who now, let's just say the company is completely owned by all of them, they haven't sold it yet, and they're looking to sell 50%, and you and I and most of our listeners know that they have enough money to pay that 200, 300 million out of pocket. Doesn't that kind of scare you that they're not willing to reinvest in a company they've made so much money from at this stage? This would be like the easiest time for me to come back on. On board and say, okay, you know what? I'll put 20 million back in because I've made, 150 million. That scares the shit out of me that they're not willing to risk that risk versus reward we were just talking about. If the owners currently are not willing to risk that scares the hell out of me, Tony.
Oh, it does. It defies logic as well. It doesn't make any sense, and
right.
They didn't have to put it all in at once. They had to just put it in dribbles and just start paying people. But there's been like nothing paid. It's like zero.
And not even a statement. That's the scariest part. They're not even saying that they're working on doing that. They keep announcing that they're going to have another announcement, and I'm just getting tired of it.
Well, I think no matter what, there's not much we can do now. I think now it's time to take steps. And I think I've also done enough talking, but I think now for Poker News and for the whole industry, it's time to take steps. And I think the players need to start getting lawyers. I think then action needs to be taken.
I think we have breaking news here. I think I just heard Tony G say he's done enough talking. That was great. But
can you confirm or deny, Mr. G?
No, I confirm. I think that there's not much more positive I can add. I think we.
Yeah, I mean, and it sucks because we're coming up on the World Series of Poker, and imagine if you're stressed out on the situation and you're kind of coming here, putting your neck on the line. Imagine how these other guys feel. Like, do you expect to see Ivy and all these guys at the World Series of Poker? And if you do, how the hell are they going to play their A game when all eyes are on them, again, assuming they do not pay us back before that time?
I think the only way they can come and be honorable is they have to make a proper statement and they have to start paying people back. It's good now the statement will not have much bite either. They've missed their time on that. Now we need money.
Yes.
That's
What would you do, Tony, if you were in their shoes? I'm not saying you are, but if you were, and your lawyers were saying, Tony, don't go out there and say this. You could implicate yourself. Don't say anything. Just trust us. Don't say a word. What would you do if you were like in Ivy's shoes and they were telling them don't say anything, but yet your reputation each day, each hour, each minute that you did not make a statement guaranteeing the money, what would you do if your lawyers were dead set against you saying anything? Would you just tell them to fuck off and come out and say?
I would definitely say it because I knew when I got involved in this, if I was Ivy, that I was taking some risk. I was taking some risk. The legalities were there. It was very clear. The risk was always there. Everyone knew the risk was there. You knew they were associated. You reaped a lot of benefits. And then when the hammer fell, you had to step up, and you had to step up and make things good. And I can pretty much assure you that Ivy or anyone guaranteeing money doesn't have to come out and say that I'm an owner. It's right. A fact. You can't deny that you're a face of Full Tilt.
Right.
That's undeniable. You can't deny that now. You were the face of Full Tilt, Team Full Tilt. Now you don't have to come out and say I own Full Tilt. You come out and say I'm going to guarantee the money on Full Tilt. That's what you have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just makes so much sense. A couple more questions, Tony, if you don't mind. Marco, do you have anything? The one that I really want to know is, I mean, and I wasn't on the call, Tony, and I don't know if you heard it, but apparently we did have Mike Matisow on earlier, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, and I just kind of want to get your opinion because it's at this point, we're not personally going after these people. We're just trying to get the money back. But he personally went after you today on our show.